Ben standing in for Drew today. He's got no idea. No one can name that. Can any of you name Britney Spears' ex-husband?
Kevin Federline.
Kevin Federline. Boom, straight there. You were there. In an instant, straight there.
I
I
deliberately didn't say that.
But you knew, right?
Yeah.
Of course you did. Everyone knows it. And this is what... It disturbed and upset me. It made me realise that not only am I turning ever more shallow, but that I have a lot of useless trivia in my head that's not the right stuff. Anyway, so just to cut a long story short, I've begun to think about what this show can provide, the service it can provide for 2008, okay? Because... You know, we tried to take it a bit more culturally upmarket last year.
It's a struggle.
With mixed results, I'll be honest with you. No, I don't think yet we've replaced The Culture Show or Mark Commode or Newsnight Review. You know, so show into is a kind of, as I say, a one-stop shop for the things you need to know, the conversation topics you need to be able to address in any given week, all right? Okay. I'm not saying we take a sideways look at the week's news.
No.
If that happens, then so be it. But what I'm saying is, I think we need to know, we need to know what's... For instance, Sammy, you're a lady, you won't know what's going on in sport.
I haven't got a clue.
Exactly, whereas I don't know what's going on in the world of crochet. Right, something that you could help me with.
Whereas I am an
You're
encyclopedic knowledge of crocheting.
Right. So anyway, so this is what I'm thinking. Right, we're going to make this show into because let's be honest, there's a lot of people that don't listen to Six Music generally. A lot of people don't listen to music stations. A lot of people don't even listen to the radio generally. Right?
Yeah.
They want to tune in on a Sunday afternoon. They want to get everything they need for the coming week or the week just gone. But
they're busy people.
They're busy people. Right. So they need to hear. They're hearing the new music, but they need to hear the big tunes. They need to know about. They need to know what's going on in the world of the tabloids. They need to know. What is their opinion on the EU? I haven't got one. I don't understand what's going on. I don't know what my opinion is of the... Should we be in, should we be out? I've got no idea.
But what you're saying is we can come up with some sort of random trumped-up view which people can then take down the pub and argue about with their friends.
What I was hoping is that it's actually an informed and educated view, perhaps with the help of the listeners and maybe some experts we can recruit over time. I suspect it will be trumped up due to the laziness of the production team involved with the show. But nevertheless, the aim is to aim high, right? Yeah. We will make this a one-stop shop for all your cultural and political and news needs, and we'll just throw everything else into the mix, right? I'm saying this is very much on top of my head. I'm saying we can refine this over the coming weeks, right?
But if we can do this, no other media need exist.
This is what I'm thinking.
Yeah,
it's so exciting.
We can take over the world.
It can take over the world, right? So we will. I'm going to apportion a couple of responsibilities, which we'll talk about in a second. But in the meantime, we better play music because I know, the average Six Music listener now, sick and tired, angered by my spiel, needs to hear music, endless music, and of course we do play a lot of new stuff. New stuff, of course. The policy on this show, Har?
Stuff that you haven't heard before.
Right, you may not have heard this tune by the Zombies. Odyssey and Oracle by the Zombies, which was utterly overlooked when it was released in 1968, but which has since become something of a cult following. It's got a cult following. Actually, I think the NME actually voted it into their top 100 albums of all time or something once. So there you are. You see, you're already learning something. And of course, carefully chosen by me, this will be our year. I'm very much saying that this will be our year. It'll be the show's year. This is the moment where we step up and we finally mark ourselves out as a valuable asset to any Six Music listener, and not just a bit of filler before Stuart McConey comes on, which a lot of people I think agree that it is. So yes, if you've just joined us, it's Steve Merchant here, and it's a Steve show with me, Harry, and Sammy. We've no Rufus this week. He'll be back next week with exciting information, including, I understand, information on his day of filming with James Bond.
Is he allowed to tell?
Well, who knows? We shall find out next week. That could be a hell of a tease. Join us next week for stories from the exclusive set of the new James Bond film. What can you tell us? Nothing. Thanks very much. But yeah, so anyway, as I said before, I feel very much like we need to start having some kind of raison d'etre to this programme, otherwise it just becomes yet another radio show full of rambling non sequiturs, which is what it's successfully done that for a year.
Yeah.
But now, as I say, I like to make it a little bit more relevant, a little bit more important. And this is one of the things I've realised, that I no longer work in an office. I do not know what the water cooler conversations are at the moment. I do not know what's happening. As I say, what the big hot discussion topics. And again, this is something that I feel we should be providing for people. I feel like we can formulate this over the course of the show. Maybe then put it into action next week. But Harry, you're very much an office-based guy.
Yeah.
Do you ever get a chance to be at the water cooler?
Well, since I've moved up the ranks, you see, it's difficult. I can't really mix with the
plebs.
Yeah, with the drones. It is quite difficult. But no. But again, it's mostly celeb based. Obviously, we have a lot of financial stuff going on at work. We talk about that, but we talk about that at our desks. So you're looking this week, really, Spears and Beadle.
Spears and Beadle. Now, what's happened to Spears and Beadle? Have they got together?
No, well, Spears has obviously gone a little bit crazy again.
Oh my God, was it Beadle? Did he pull a prank? Did she think there's an alien at the bottom of the garden?
He didn't know, but it's obviously all very sad about Britney. She's obviously having some awful
Yes.
problems. She's gone to a psychological place now where they're going to look at her brain and decide whether she's allowed to live or not, and that will be fine. And that will draw a line into that whole saga. Beadle, of course, very sadly passed away. And, of course, what everyone has been at pains to say, all his friends in the papers this week, has been saying, he was voted Britain's most awful man ever.
See, that seems sloppy. We've got the phone ringing. Just get it. You may as well get it now.
It's not going to be him. So, he was voted like Britain's worst man ever. And everyone's been at pains to say he was actually a very lovely man. He raised like about £100 million for charity. He was a very incisive man. He had a huge library. He was obsessed with trivia and everything. And he was just a very interesting man. But the water cooler talk in our office this week has been he was in an induced coma for a few days because he had pneumonia, and that's the best way to deal with it. And we just had this image of him in the last moment, sadly, moving towards the light, and as he gets towards the light, out from behind the bush jumps the Grim Reaper, dressed as a traffic warden. Excuse me, Beadle, is this your car?
Sure,
and so on.
yeah.
So that's
very much the water cooler conversation is an irreverent look at a tragedy.
It's a sideways look at a really awful, horrible
Yeah,
situation.
so you take something which is very serious, let's say the passing of someone, and then you just mock it for your own amusement.
You don't mock it because you...
That's what it sounds like to me. So.
Well, because you reverently talk about him before you mock him.
Okay, so that suggests some kind of sympathy and caring side to you.
Absolutely.
Before you then ridicule him in his last moments. I understand. No, I understand now. I mean, you're by no means to blame, because I noticed that the headline I think it was The Sun, was, this is instant. Like, bear in mind that, again, it's a national newspaper. It should have a certain reverence for Beadle. The headline, Beadle's Not About. Which, based, of course, on his popular hit show, Beadle's About. Which just, again, seems there's a kind of general, there's just a general kind of reduction now in our sort of
everyone's there
sympathies.
to be smirked at.
Yeah, everyone's there to be smirked at. So that's very much water cooler information, your side of the world. Sammy, what about you now? You don't really work. Do you work?
Not at the minute,
No.
but I will be again.
Right.
Definitely.
But amongst the youth, which is very much what you are, what are the big hot topics?
I've only picked up on 2 news stories this week. One was about a prematurely born giraffe,
Right.
and the other was about a dog that had randomly turned up on this man's drive. Now, I hasten to add, I heard this news report halfway through and thought, how has this made Radio 2 news? A dog's turned up on a man's drive and he can't get rid of it. I thought, they're clutching at straws. Only found out this afternoon it was Graham Lassau's drive, hence the news.
I don't understand. See, once again, I'm in why.
Mastiff, 10 stone, huge dog, just turned up on his drive, refusing to leave. He can't make it move, and the police dog people are off for the weekend drinking beer. So he's just got to live with his dog on his drive. And that made Radio 2 News this morning.
Because he's an ex-footballer.
I ignored everything else
But why
and just
Graham
picked up on
Lassau?
that.
He's so, I mean, is someone at the Radio 2 checking up what's Lassau up to? Anything going on in Lassau's life?
Sky News have got the chopper hovering above it.
Yeah.
Coverage of the dog round the clock.
But it sounded so... It just sounded like a man. Obviously, Graham Lassau is a man. But he just sounded really fed up. Yeah, there's just no one coming to take this dog away, and the dog team, they're not here till Monday, so I've just got a dog on my drive. And that's why I thought it was just a disgruntled man, member of the public. No, it was Graham Lassau.
So Graham Lassau's got a dog on his drive he can't shift. Jeremy Beadle's passed away. This is the water cooler talk for this
A
week.
prematurely born giraffe. It was
Sure.
only 5 foot tall. It was,
Right.
my mum wanted to keep it as a pet.
Okay, good. All right, so those are the big hot topics. Now, I'm just going to throw this out to the listeners because I want to know if this is true, because we need to start building up an understanding of whether we are in any way reflecting the views and concerns of the listenership. Get in touch, 64046, stephen.sixmusic@bbc.co.uk. What are your water cooler conversations for this week? Let us know so that we can, as I say, reflect them right back at you. And if you don't have an opinion of them, maybe we can formulate one, which you can then pass off as your own tomorrow at work. Harry, it's a musical choice from you.
Yeah, I picked this band because I saw them. You know how you see support acts and you think, oh, I'm going to have to track down some stuff from them, and you never do? Well, this was a band I saw play about 3 years ago. They're called Ted Leo and the Pharmacists, American band. And in January, I had some spare time. I was messing around the internet, found their latest album, which is called Living with the Living, and this stomping track is called The Sons of Cain.
That was Harry's musical choice this week on the Steve Show, B6 Music. We have to go to the news, Howard. The news is fast approaching. Quick, give us all the information we need on that track.
That was called The Sons of Cain by Ted Leo and the Pharmacists from last year's album Living with the Living.
Brilliant. We will be back after the news with a guest here in the studio. Plus, we also need your water cooler discussion topics. You need to fill me in on what's being discussed in the workplace so I can fill you right back at you, if that makes any sense. Stephen.6music at bbc.co.uk. Text 64046. Here's the news.
On digital.
Hot shit ready for the floor on the Steve Show B6 Music with me, Stephen Merchant, and my little gang of cronies. I've suddenly realised that we should have an opinion on the Hot Chip album. This is exactly the sort of thing that we should have an opinion on, guys, so that people can just regurgitate that themselves. That song, of course, is ubiquitous on 6 Music and many other stations. Again, my presumption is that if you only listen to one show in any given week, and it's this show, you won't have heard it. So that's what we're doing. We're playing it there, so you're fully abreast of all the big tunes. Do you have an opinion? Does anyone have an opinion on the new Hot Chip album?
My preemptive opinion is it's going to be great.
Okay. Right, yeah, not
That's
that
it.
usefully. I think we need things to be slightly more
we've heard
informed.
two tracks from it, haven't we? We've heard that and we've heard Shake a Fist. So if they're anything to go by, we've got the slow dance number, we've got the more upbeat,
Well, yes, but
excitable one.
I'm throwing this right back at you, Sammy. The point is that from those two tunes, it could go either way. It could be a massive Röyksopp style dinner party hit album, or it could be quite an eclectic Aphex Twin style, underground hit album. I don't know what it's going to be.
Based on the last two albums, I think it's going to go more the way of being able to dance to it a lot. It's not going to be your dinner party anthems tape.
Right, but like the
it on
Chemical
'cause we're
Brothers,
here
for
tea.
instance, they've had a couple of massive hit albums, didn't they, that crossed over into the mainstream.
But the other two albums haven't been massive hits. They've been slow burners. They've been growing. They're getting better.
Have you, the listener, illegally downloaded the Hot Chip album prior to its release?
Hate the fact
And
that
have
I
you
haven't.
formed an opinion of it already? 64046. This is the sort of stuff we need to know, guys. This is what, again, this is what this show, this is the service it should provide. You're in a pub, right? You've got to make conversation with your girlfriend or your boyfriend's friends. You've met them for the first time. You don't really know them. Maybe you don't even like them particularly, right?
Probably.
But it's slightly awkward. She's off, maybe she's late for the pub. She's still working late, whatever, in her high-powered job, right? And so you need an opinion. You need something to talk about with them, right? This is what the show should provide. It should provide you opinions on the big cultural hoo-has. It should offer you views on, you can't just say, oh, Jeremy Beadle raised £100 million for charity. It's unsubstantiated. We need more. We need an opinion. We need. Do you know what I mean? It's not enough. It's just.
Well, no, because you said there it's unsubstantiated, and then you said you need an opinion. What do you want? Facts or opinion? Make your mind up.
Exactly. See, that's good. No, but what's nice about that is you're fighting back, And from this, dialectically speaking, we may come up with some kind of opinion/fact.
How long have we got? How long's the show?
Not long. Nice use of the word dialectic, though. I was thinking
Very
instantly
clever.
there of dialectical materialism, of course, which is on what Marxism in essence is based on. And
There's topic one in the pub tonight.
there you are.
Yeah.
Well, here's a handy phrase. If you do end up talking about Marxism this evening, right, here's a quick summation of the Marxist idea, right? In any given capitalist environment, the proletariat will revolt against their oppression by the bourgeoisie, and after a brief period of sort of socialist rule, emerge as a classist society governed by community cooperation. There's a quick summation, right, of Marxism. That's useful, right?
Yeah.
That's a handy thing to have.
It's not necessarily the hot topic of the day.
No, sure, but if this were, say, 1900...
Yeah.
That would be, that'd be on everyone's
You could
lips.
integrate that into a story. I'm sure you could fit that into some sort of story.
But my point is this, right? Now, there's people out there, and let's be honest, many of our listeners, we've spoken to them, dunces, right?
Yeah, idiots.
Imbeciles, idiots, right? And that's coming from an imbecile and an idiot myself. I'm fully aware that I'm ill-read, I'm ill-educated. But the point is, there you are. If you need to know Marxism, right, if you need to be able to just spout off about it, there you are. It's a handy little user phrase. You can pop that in your pocket. You can use that at any time. Okay?
And of course, people can use a listen again facility and actually write it down.
You write that down, and that's exactly what
Just
I
have
did.
it on your hand.
That is exactly what I did. I once wrote it out and learnt it so that I could sound kind of smart in sixth form. Rarely, of course, in sixth form. You were there with me. Did we bring up the subject of Marxism?
No, it's more about the spiralling cost of cider.
Yeah, or soup dragons.
Yeah.
But anyway, so this is what we're trying to provide. The show now is its new function in life is to provide you, the listeners, with